All right, if buying a first home feels out of reach, well, you're not imagining it. A new report from Zillow finds California now has more than 100 cities where a starter home costs at least $1 million. In fact, nationwide, there are now 242 cities with $1 million starter homes. That's 3 times as many from just 6 years ago. Zillow defines a starter home as one of the most affordable homes in a market. The good news is the typical starter home across the country still costs about $200,000, though that price continues to climb. So if you've been waiting for San Diego home prices to come down, you might be wondering, are home prices finally starting to cool, or are we headed for another surge? Home sales are slowing, affordability remains a major challenge, and uncertainty is keeping many buyers on the sidelines. So joining us now is one of San Diego's top real estate experts, Matt Battiata, to help us make sense of where the market could be headed. Matt, I'm excited to talk to you today. We have lots of questions. Always in California, real estate is what everybody likes to talk about, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the good news, I guess, is the market is slowing.
Yeah.
Inventory is going up, but affordability is still really, really low, both in San Diego and also in California in general. And typically, whenever we get affordability index below 15%, we typically have a correction. So we really are overdue for a correction in San Diego. And I think it'd probably be welcome to a degree at this point, just because it's so unaffordable.
To the people who haven't bought anything.
To the people who haven't bought yet. I mean, we always go in cycles, right? We always go in cycles. And this cycle that we're on right now, the last bottom of the market was 2012. Wow. Right? So we do these cycles, you know, I've charted it back about 60 years, and we keep doing these cycles. This one is a different type of a cycle because we were due for a correction in 2020, but then we had COVID, right? So that just meant that we went up like crazy because the Fed dropped interest rates, right? So now it went up like crazy from 2020 until 2022, and now it's been just kind of flat and starting to decline a little bit. But the affordability is the big issue. So I would say we're due for a correction.
So the asking price on San Diego homes is 7% lower than it was a year ago. So what does that tell you about the market right now?
Homes are taking longer to sell, so and more people are deciding to put their homes on the market. So our inventory is going up. I'll tell you a really interesting statistic. Since COVID, the overwhelming majority of the homes that we are selling, people are selling and leaving San Diego. And conversely, the overwhelming majority of buyers are coming from outside of San Diego. So they're coming from other parts of the country, they're coming from Northern California. The buyers are not coming from here because everybody has low interest rates, so they're not moving. They don't want to sell. The only ones that are selling and leaving San Diego to go buy somewhere where it's much cheaper.
Cheaper anyway.
Yeah, and that happens at every peak, by the way.
So where are we in the cycle? We're on the downside of it? We're at the peak?
Yeah, so you know, I always use an analogy that a real estate market is like a giant oil tanker out on the ocean. It gets momentum whichever direction it's going in. So you can cut the engines and the propellers off, but that ship still has momentum, so it drifts for a while.
Yeah.
So right now, I think we're turning down the engines and the propellers, but we're still drifting, right?
So but you don't see us in the next 3 to 5 years, do you see us going up more?
I don't. I see probably we're going to drop.
Correction.
We're overdue for a correction. But we've been overdue. I mean, the same thing, by the way, happened between 96 and 2005. In 96, the market turned around, started going up.
Right.
And it went up, and by 2001, we were due for a correction, right? But guess what happened? 9/11 happened. The Fed dropped interest rates, so we went up like crazy for another 5 years until we peaked, and then we dropped like a rock. So we had a systemic event happen in this case, which was COVID, caused the Fed to drop interest rates. You know, a market's not sustainable when it's as unaffordable as this market is. So statistically in California, anytime we get below 15% affordability on a statewide basis, we have a pretty good correction.
And where are we right now?
We're at, I believe, we might be at like 17% in California, but in San Diego, I think we're at 11.
Wow. Oh, okay.
So it's very low.
So we just had that report about all these first the starter homes now
$1
in
million
San Diego, $1 million bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just out of reach for young families? Is there another path to home ownership for people?
Well, typically what people do is they'll buy a condo first that's, then it appreciates a little bit and they sell it and they roll it into the next place they buy. So, it's very much, interest rates are the big issue right now. Interest rates are pretty high, relatively speaking. So a lot of the homes that we're selling, if the typical buyer out there is going to be getting a loan, so say it's a first-time home buyer house, we're doing, so there's a few options. There are assumable loans out there. So FHA and VA loans are both assumable. So we're selling a house in San Diego right now in Rancho Bernardo that has a VA loan at 2 3/8, right? So the
great.
buyer came in and they're able to assume that loan.
Oh, wow. Do
Yeah.
they have to be a veteran or no?
Nope, they don't. So it's interesting. So you can assume VA loans, you can also assume FHA loans.
Wow.
The other things, you can do a 2-1 buy down. So a 2-1 buy down, which a lot of our sellers are willing to pay for right now, is to make their homes more marketable. A 2-1 buy down lowers your interest rate by 2% the first year and 1% the second year. And a lot of times you can get the seller to give you a credit to pay for that. So that's another way to get into it.
These cycles, okay, so we're talking about you think that we're in for a correction.
I think we are, yeah.
How long does that take to actually see, you have to look back and say, oh yeah, we were in a correction there?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're in what I would call a flat market, which has been the last couple of years. The market's been it hasn't really been going up. It's been going down a little bit. Homes are taking longer to sell. There hasn't been a dramatic crash, obviously. So right now we're in a flat market, and it might be flat for a little while, but eventually I don't think that our market is sustainable the way that it is, because it can't be this unaffordable. We're going to be selling, $2 million starter homes before we know it, if it keeps going up the way it's been going up.
You talk about something called the moodometer.
Yeah.
Tell people about that.
So real estate markets, to a degree, there's kind of mob psychology with regard to real estate markets. When everybody thinks the market's amazing, like when you go to a cocktail party and everyone's talking about, oh, we bought this place and it went up like crazy, and we bought this new construction in the first phase, and by the last phase it was up, $100,000. So when everybody thinks the market's great, that makes people want to go out and buy homes and buy investment properties and so forth. When everybody thinks that the market is the other way, it becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the moodometer right now is pretty low, right?
Really?
Because we have high interest rates, and the market's been up for so long.
Unaffordable.
And it's very, very unaffordable. And the unaffordable is really an issue. So there's going to be some sort of a systemic change that's going to cause the market to correct. It could be unemployment because of AI. So we just did a seminar down at the University Club in San Diego last week, and we had a great turnout, and we talked about timing the real estate market. Is it going to go up, down? Is it going to stay where it is? And one of my theories is that unemployment caused by AI, which they're predicting is going to be at least 10% or 12%, which would be triple what it is right now. I think it's going to be worse than that. If people don't have jobs and they can't make money, they can't make their mortgage payments, they can't buy new houses, et cetera. So the unemployment rate might be the systemic change that causes a correction.
To actually make the turn.
Yeah.
Do you have ideas for buyers or sellers right now? Let's start with sellers. What should their strategy be?
Well, you need a good agent, number one. You got to be really careful about how you price your home. You can't overprice your property. And then the other thing is, as I mentioned, all the buyers, we've really lost what we call the trade up and trade down buyers. So I've got hundreds of clients who say, well, we'd love to sell our house, it's worth so much money, but we can't afford to buy anything.
That's right. Yeah.
So the sellers that are selling are leaving San Diego, and the buyers are coming from outside the area. So if you're one of those sellers that wants to sell your property, you've got to make sure that your property is being marketed not just here in San Diego, but nationally and internationally, because that's where a lot of the buyers are coming from.
What about buyers in San Diego? Should they wait for this correction to kick in?
It is tough to time the market. I would say you just want to get in somewhere. But, you can assume a loan. That's a really great idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. How do you find out about that? You just find out from the...
Is
it mentioned
need
in
an
the
agent.
listing?
If you have an agent, it should be. A lot of agents don't even realize that some of these loans are assumable. And the only ones that are assumable are FHA and VA loans. Yeah.
That's something that's really interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah, we're selling a house right now in, like I say, in Rancho Bernardo. and the seller had a VA loan. So,
Amazing.
yeah, we marketed
Okay,
it
Matt,
like
you've
that.
given us a lot to chew on. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.